Why are we attracted to negativity? This is something that I've been trying to figure out for a long time, and I'm sure somebody who is far smarter than me and has some sort of degree in evolutionary science can tell me the answer to that. But philosophically and psychologically, the attraction to negativity, the almost obsession with it, is something that has always interested me. It's the concept that stops people from turning away from a horrific car crash or from enjoying true crime podcasts. It's the same thing that makes you want to feel the burning sensation when you pour hydrogen peroxide on an open wound. It's the obsession with a toxic ex or somebody you know isn't good for you. Further than that, it's the sadism within adult activities. It's an interesting thing to think about. Why do we enjoy being hurt? Why do we enjoy seeing bad things? And when I say enjoy, I don't mean obviously like we enjoy it, it makes us happy, but we do seek it out, whether you want to admit so or not. There's even a concept called toxic positivity, where people are overtly positive in order to pretend they have no negative feelings, which in and of itself is a negative trait that those people grow addicted to. There's a vicious cycle within Dead by Daylight. I call it the toxicity cycle. Picture you're a new killer. We're going to use killer for this example, but we could easily use new survivor before any of you start commenting. But picture you're a new killer. You just got started in the game and you pick up Trapper. You don't know much about him, but because of the obnoxious matchmaker, you end up getting put against your very first bully squad. These guys are ruthless. They are always in your face. They're flashlight clicking. They're teabagging, which is essentially flipping someone off. Let's not cut corners here. Let's call a spade a spade. Doing toxic and in BMing actions is the equivalent of flipping someone off in traffic or whatever the case may be, right? Let's not pretend that that's not what it is, right? But these survivors, they're just being overly toxic. And this killer deals with this kind of thing for, let's say, 3 to 5 games. Not necessarily in a row. Normally it doesn't happen in a row. But over the course of, say, 15, 20 games, this is the killer's experience. Eventually, as the killer learns more and more about the game, and they discover things like the nurse, the blight, spirit, they discover meta perks and things that are very, very, very powerful. They begin to target every survivor as if that survivor is a part of the bully squad that they remember. And then those survivors they're targeting are innocent little people. They're innocent people who are just trying to have a good game, who are bringing off meta perks and aren't four-man coordinated swiffing with each other. They are, for all intents and purposes, just a kind player who is getting punished for the actions of others. After a while, that survivor starts learning that they have to be toxic in return because they face so much toxicity, and they become the survivor, the bully squad, that original killer once faced. And it goes around and around and around. This is an addiction to toxicity that the community has, because instead of just taking each match as it is, saying, well, that match was pretty shit and those people were pretty shit, and leaving it in the back burner and moving on and treating the next match as a new match, they take it with them each and every time. And I wish that I could say that I was fully exempt from this, because I, above everybody else in this community, have preached over and over again to just say GG's and go next after every match, no matter how you were treated in that match, no matter what the opposite side did, no matter how much they BM'd, no matter how toxic they were. I am the first one to tell you that you should, as soon as you see that game over screen, as soon as you see escaped or sacrificed or one of the killer messages, you just type GG's and you move on. You go on with your life. You know what I mean? I'm the first one to say that, but I will not sit here and pretend to you like some matches don't affect me for longer than they should. And it's usually not about BMing behavior. It's usually about bad luck. I have a montage coming out, or came out on Monday. I'm not sure if I'm going to put this video in the Sunday or the Tuesday slot, but I have a montage coming out where I go on a very lengthy rant about being targeted first every single match. And it's not necessarily the killers trying to be like hostile toward me. It's not stream sniping or whatever the case may be, because I know that a lot of streamers like to call stream sniping. That's another thing we'll get to in a bit. It's just unlucky. I'm just unlucky, right? I always just happen to be the first one found, and because I'm shit at the game, I get downed pretty quickly and get on a hook. I just got to get better. But I won't lie to you and say that that doesn't affect me from match to match, especially if it happens a few matches in a row. I start to get a little tilted. We have to take a break, stop, grab a clementine, and wish that I was still an alcoholic to deal with the bullshit. But the point is that this toxic, vicious cycle of bringing one game into the next is part of what I like to adamantly call the Dead by Daylight community's addiction to toxicity. Negative content breeds a lot of views. It is so easy to make it as a Dead by Daylight creator if you just simply title your videos correctly. I know that sounds weird, right? Because I don't want to make it sound like it's like incredibly easy to get like a constant career. I've busted my ass for what I have, but if you make constant videos about destroying toxic swifts, or toxic killer gets their what they deserve, humping killer got 4-man outed, you know, you make these kind of videos and you put the right thumbnail on them with the right title wording, you're going to get a few clicks. And you'll start seeing those clicks go up and up and up and up and up and up and up, because this community is addicted to seeing what they consider to be toxic people getting their comeuppance. And I'm not necessarily saying that's a bad thing. I think that toxic people should be called out on their behavior so that we can try to improve it for the future. This is why I never minded Aaron Duke's content or Spookin' Juke's content, although, well, we're not going to get into it. But the point is that I never really minded that type of content because, in my opinion, it's important to call out toxic behaviors. But I will admit, sometimes, and Aaron is a good friend of mine, you guys know this by now, but sometimes it was a bit of a stretch. There were times where they would call something toxic and it was just normal in-game trash talk. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with trash talking in the game. I think that's perfect. I do it all the time. And I think most people do it, right? You catch a particularly difficult survivor with a nice play and you're like, ha, gotcha, bitch. Or you're survivor and you do like a 3-gen run and you're like, ha ha, dumbass, or something like that, right? I think that's perfectly adequate, right? I even think that some energetic trash talking is adequate, because again, I do the same thing, right? I'd be a hypocrite if I said it wasn't. It's just when it gets outside of the game, like I said, that I have a problem. But the point is that the content style of labeling people toxic and then saying that they got their comeuppance because you beat them in a game is kind of weird. Right? Like, I am a very big fan of a person who does this. I won't name drop them immediately, but a lot of people probably know them because they're quite popular in the community. I'm a big fan of watching them play this, but they call everything toxic. And I think that that's not that great, right? Because why would you call it? It should be things like, oh, this survivor squad was really good, but I beat them. You know, find a way to make that a punchy title. We're content creators here. Surely we could come up with something, right? I think that the titling of his videos is not that great, but his videos are actually pretty good. I haven't watched him in a while, so maybe he's changed up the style, but I don't know. Another way that this community is very addicted to toxicity is rage baiting and tweet posting. I, unfortunately, spend a little bit too much time on Twitter. It's where I troll for video ideas and tweet out my random opinions on things, including sometimes things about Dead by Daylight, but that's generally where you can find my opinion on social issues and political issues and video games and TV shows and things like that. You can usually find that on Twitter or on my TikTok. So unfortunately, I spend a lot of time on Twitter, and if I had a dime, a penny even, for every weird rage baiting post that I see on Twitter where someone like screenshots an end game where they beat a squad and they're like, haha, this dude, he camped at 5 gens and we 4-man outed him. Ha this squad, they all brought boil over flip-flop to Ormond and I bled them out. And it was like, and it's just like, what the What are you doing? And people engage with it, and they retweet it, and they talk about it. They're like, oh my God, you can't believe how awful this is, bro. Ha ha, this stupid fuck God is. And sometimes, this is the most egregious example. Sometimes it's just someone having a bad game. Like nothing, like you talk to these people and like nothing egregious actually happened. Like one person got tunneled at one point during the game, and that's just all of a sudden justification for shitting all over somebody who didn't have a decent game. It happens from time to time. The best of the best of the best players can have bad games, and people they love to just fuel rage within the community. And then they make a half a dozen tweets a week about how miserable they are playing Dead by Daylight, or how Dead by Daylight has lost its sparkle, its shine, it's fun. But every single post from them is trying to imbue toxicity within the community. And I truly wonder if they are ever going to realize the irony. When I realized that most of my videos were made complaining about the game instead of trying to find positives within the game, that's when I started to realize I wasn't enjoying the game as is anymore. And that's one of the many things that ended up leading to my 3-month hiatus, because I began to realize within myself that I was doing nothing but talking about bad things about the game. And do keep in mind, there's a distinct difference between a criticism and a bad thing about and being a piece of shit, right? A criticism is, this doesn't work because this is unfun or uninteractive or oppressive, and being just a little fucking toxic piece of shit is being like, oh my God, the behavior is just so lazy and so stupid, and I can't believe it, bro. If you talk like that about the devs, I will never take anything you say seriously, ever. I just won't. I don't like it, because in my opinion, it's a complete lack of understanding of how to properly criticize a thing. But further than that, we go back to that whole screenshotting you winning. Sore winners are so fucking cringy. They are the worst type of people in sportsmanship, right? Sore losers are one thing, right? You lose, you get pissed off, it's really, really weird, really, really cringe. But if you win and you're still pissed off and you're like being this weird, I beat this person type of tirade, it's so fucking ungodly annoying. And at this point, we begin to go into the third, and what I essentially would say is the almost final step of this this community's addiction to toxicity. And that is taking things too far. People will bring things from the match outside of the match. I talked about this in another video, in my Stop Taking the Game So Seriously video. But people will take things from the match, outside of the match, and they will bring it further than the in-game chat. Like I said, to Twitter is one thing, but they'll bring it to YouTube comment sections, to Twitch chats, to Twitch whispers, to Discord DMs, to Discord channels. I swear these people would send a fucking messenger pigeon if they knew how to do it, about how much they can't stand you for some action you did in the game. And this is a further addiction to toxicity. This is a further point where people begin to really, really showcase how much they love toxicity. They breed it. They mold it. They take everything that they don't like and they start flinging it like their own feces at everyone they can find, everyone they can target, and it gets ridiculous. And then once they're in these other spaces that have nothing to do with the game, they start bringing insults that have nothing to do with the game. They start insulting your appearance, your viewer count, your personality. I mean, that's a fair target sometimes, depending on who the person is, but you get what I'm saying, right? They start targeting your laugh, your insecurities. I had somebody come in and leave the funniest fucking, I'm telling you, chat, the comment was, they chat, I'm recording this, there's no Twitch chat right now. They came in and they left a comment and they're like, of course it's the white man that tunnels. And I laughed so hard because it was one of the most absurd things I had ever heard. And then they started making fun of my laugh. What's wrong with my laugh? You know what? You know what I mean? It's like you went a step too far, then you took it a step further, and then you took it a step even further. into real personal territory. And that's because a lot of this community takes tunneling and camping and stuff like that as personal attacks on them. And 99.9% of the time, that's not what it is. But that's a discussion for another video. The final thing I want to talk about before our conclusion is definitely the rage queuing and hypocrisy of the community. So rage queuing is something that I have talked about before. I made a video back in the day called the Dead by Daylight community's unhealthy obsession, where I talked at length about people who constantly are having a bad time in the game and then just hitting that Q button again. And that is something that falls sort of into the hypocrisy category, but also into the addiction to toxicity, because you are addicted to something that isn't making you happy. You are constantly re-queuing into a game you're not having fun with for hours, ruining your own mood, the mood of your opponents, the mood of the people around you. And that's what causes everything I talked about before, because you keep getting pissed off, you keep getting tilted, you keep getting frustrated, and yet you still hit that Q button. You still play another match. And that negativity spreads like a virus from you to everybody else involved. And that causes you to do things like rage bait on Twitter, make videos about how you beat someone you thought was toxic, tweet constantly about how much you hate the game and the devs, the vicious cycle of being bullied over and over again, going too far by going into external sites and talking shit to people that you faced before. But the biggest point of hypocrisy, in my opinion, is people claiming that they want this community to be more positive, but then perpetrating the same toxicity that they claim to condemn by doing things like engaging in these videos that are just completely toxic, or retweeting rage bait and agreeing with it, and just taking stances that inherently are unhealthy for the community as a whole. In conclusion, I don't think that me talking about this is going to solve the toxicity that is rampant throughout the community, or the community's addiction to toxicity. I also don't fully believe that this video is going to reach the ears it needs to reach. There's a very good chance that I'll end up preaching to the choir, and the people who do the things I've talked about in this video will go into the comment section and just try their best to defend their behaviors. But realistically, at the end of the day, maybe we're all a little addicted to toxicity. And that's all I had for you guys today. Don't forget to leave your opinions down below. I don't just make these videos to spout my opinions at you. This is an open conversation, and I love reading your replies, even if I don't get to respond to every one of them. And as always, a great big special thank you to our channel members listed on the screen now. From the bottom of my heart, it's absolutely insane the amount of support I've been getting lately, and there is a very good chance by the time this video comes out, there will be even more than what I know on the day of recording this video. I am completely flustered, and I just can't get over the support that's been pouring in my way. So thank you guys so much for all of your support and making my dreams come true, becoming a full-time content creator. I really appreciate it. So if you want to find out how to become a channel member today, then click that join button down below so you can get great perks like seeing videos early and merch discount codes. I love you guys so much, and I will see you in the next one.